This is your tutorial video on how to create a title block in AutoCAD. The first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that our title block layer is active. If it's not, select the drop down and select the correct layer. After that, we're going to go to our Layout 1 tab, and what you're going to see is a grid. What we need to do is we need to select that entire grid and we need to delete it. This is the piece of paper where we're going to create our title block. The piece of paper, however, is too small, so we need to make some adjustments to the settings and the size in order for our title block to fit appropriately. How we do this is we're going to go to our Layout 1 tab and right-click. We're going to select Page Setup Manager. In our Page Setup Manager, on the right-hand side, we're going to select the Modify button. And then under our printer name, we need to change it from None and scroll down to DWG to PDF.PC3. What this is going to allow us to do is convert our drawing files and export them as PDFs so that we can later print them in order to submit our project assignment. Next, we're going to come down to paper size. We need to select our drop down and go down to ANSI Expanded C. In parentheses, it'll read 22 by 17 inches. After you've changed those two settings, we're going to select the OK button, and then we're going to select Close in our original window. Now that we've changed our paper size to 22 by 17, we can go ahead and start modeling our title block. The first thing that we need to do is we need to select our line command. If you take a look at the bottom left-hand corner of your handout, you're going to notice a little arrow with a little note at the end. That note reads that we need to start our first point at 0.25, 0.25 away from our origin. So all we need to do is type in 0.25, 0.25, and then press the return key. What this is going to do is it's going to plot that first point for us. After that, we need to figure out the height of our title block. The height is 15.5. After you type it in, again, just go ahead and press enter. Now comes the width. The width of our title block is 21 inches. Again, just select enter. Now, the next part is we could type in 15.5 and then 21 inches to complete our title block, but there's an easier way. If you take a look down at your puller tracking down in your application status bar, if you don't have this little symbol, just come over to the end of the row and then we can come up to puller tracking. If there's a check mark next to it, that means that that icon is down in your application status bar. And if there's not, then the icon will go ahead and show up in your application status bar. What we want here is we want our puller coordinate, or puller tracking, to be on. So it's going to be represented blue. By doing this, what you can do is you can hover over the start point or the end point of your first line. When you do this, since puller tracking is on, what's going to happen is you're going to see the endpoint icon represented by a green square. And then if you move your cursor over, you're going to see a green line that's dashed. That's going to help you track where your next point needs to be. And as you straighten that cursor out, those 2 points are going to meet at an intersect. And where that intersect is where your cursor is going to land. You can click, and it's going to create that point for you, and then you can just track over and close your object to complete the perimeter of your title block. Now you're going to notice your line command is still active, so you can right-click and enter, or you can press the escape key on your keyboard. Either way will work. The next thing that we need to go ahead and do is we need to create our line that's 1 inch from the bottom of our title block. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us the height of our text box. How we do this is we're going to come up to our Modify panel. And we're going to select the word Offset. Offset command looks like a little oven mitt in the bottom right-hand corner. When we select Offset, you're going to notice that it gives you directions in your command line. It asks you to offset a specific distance. And since the line is offset from the bottom of my title block up 1 inch, I want to type in 1 and press enter. Then it asks you to select the line that you would like to offset from. Since I want to offset from my bottom line, I'm going to select it. And then if you move your cursor in the up or downward direction, it's going to give you a preview of where that line is going to be placed. Since I want this line to be inside of my title block, I'm going to move my cursor in the upward direction and click. Now that my offset of 1 inch is complete, I can escape out of that function by pressing the escape key. The next thing that I want to do is I want to offset 8 inches. So I'm going to reselect the offset command. I'm going to type in 8 inches and press enter. If you take a look at your handout asks you to offset from the left-hand side in 8 inches and also the right-hand side from 8 inches. So we can do both of those at the same time, since they're the same dimension. Now that I'm done with my 8-inch dimensions, I can press the escape key. My next coordinate that I'm going to type in is 2. Again, press enter to OK that dimension. I want to offset 2 inches inside of my title block from the outside line. And then it also asks us to offset from this line in 4 inches. However, I can just double my original offset from my first 2-inch line and offset another 2 inches to represent my 4-inch line. So now down at the bottom, I have all of my squares or rectangles for the text that I'm going to add next. But first, we need to get rid of all of these lines that are in the middle of our title block because this is where our drawing is going to go. So now that I'm done with my offset command, I'm going to escape out of that feature. And now in our modify panel, we need to find the trim command. What we're going to do with the trim command is we're going to trim all of the lines that are in the working area or model area of our title block. What we need to go ahead and do first before we can start trimming is we need to right click somewhere that isn't on a line. I like to call it the gray space or the black space. Wherever you don't have a line is where you want to right click. What this is going to do is it's going to activate the trim tool. If you do not right click in black space or blank space, your trim tool will not function properly. After you right click, you can hover over a line and you're going to notice a red X that appears, and it'll give you a preview of what that line is going to look like before you trim something. Now I will tell you that if your line is not intersecting another line like it is down here for both of our remaining lines, then it will not trim. Once you've trimmed all 4 of the lines, your title block is going to go ahead and look like this. We're done with the trim command, so we can exit out of it by pressing the escape key. The next thing that we want to go ahead and do is we want to make sure that our dynamic input symbol is down in our application status bar. I don't have mine, so I'm going to go find it, and I'm going to select dynamic input. Notice that the check mark is not next to it so that my icon then does not show up in your application status bar. Turning dynamic input on is going to help us position our text in our text boxes appropriately so that our instructions are being followed. How we go ahead and add text is in our annotation panel. And what we need to do is we need to select the text drop down, and we're going to select multi-line text. In the top left corner to the bottom right hand corner is where we're going to create a text box. What I need to do is click on the top left corner to the bottom right hand corner. And what that's going to do is it's going to create our text box so that I can type in my Warren Township High School text. I would recommend turning your caps lock on and typing in Warren Township High School as it's shown on your worksheet. Now, in order to make any changes to your text, what you need to do is highlight it. So after we've highlighted our text, what we can do is now we can make changes to it. Our instructions ask us to center our text. When you select that center, what it's going to do is it's going to center it horizontally within that text box you just made. It's also going to ask us to change the justification to middle center. And what that's going to do is it's going to drop your text into the middle of your text frame vertically. So now at the end of that, your text should be centered horizontally and vertically in the middle of your text box so that it's not touching any edges. The next thing that we need to go ahead and do is we need to come to our style panel, and under annotative we have this dimension. We need to type in 5/16 of an inch because that's the size that our worksheet tells us that Warren Township High School has to be. Then we're going to press enter. If you don't know the decimal conversion, AutoCAD does it for you. So I didn't know it off the top of my head, so I could just type in the fraction and it'll automatically convert that to decimals for me. Warren Township High School does not currently fit inside of that text box, but if you click out of it to deselect, it's going to go ahead and be horizontally and vertically centered, and it's going to be the appropriate size. Once you've done this, you have the skills and tools that you need in order to do the drawn by, scale, and period boxes. How we go ahead and do this is we're going to select multi-line text. We're going to create another text box, and in all caps, we're going to type in drawn by, and then you can type in your first and last name since it's not going to change throughout the entire semester. I'm going to type in my name, again in all caps, and then I need to make changes to these as well. So for this, we also need to change the size. The size of this text is going to be 3/16 of an inch. And again, make sure it's highlighted and press enter. When you click out of it, you're going to notice that the text is going to hug the top and left lines. So what we need to do is we need to change the position. With dynamic input on, if you click on the text to select it and then select the blue square in the upper left hand corner by clicking it once, we can type in the dimensions of 0.125, negative 0.125 like our worksheet asks us. After we've typed that in, we're going to press enter and the text will move where we need it to be. In order to escape this text, just press the escape key. Once we're done with that, then we move on to our scale box by creating another text box and typing in the scale. Since this is going to change, we're not going to put a number next to it, and we also need to change this size to 3/16 of an inch. We're going to press enter, click out of it, click on the scale once, click on the blue square once, and then again type in our coordinates of 0.125 inches, negative 0.125 inches, and then press enter. And again, your text will move where you need it to go. Once you're done with scale, you're going to exit out of it, and then we can move over and we can select another text box for period. Whatever your period number is, go ahead and type it in since, again, that's not going to change. We're going to highlight that text, and again, last time, this text size is going to be 3/16 of an inch. We're going to click out of it once, select it, select the blue square, and then we're once again going to type in our coordinates of 0.125, negative 0.125, and press enter. Once we've done this, we are done completing our title block for the first section. The middle text box needs to remain blank for your project name. In the middle, we're going to create a viewport in your next video.